Welcome back to my video. So today, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about Penrith. So I think, a lot of people, they have been anticipating this project. And the last launch, what we are seeing is that the last launch in Queenstown area is actually Sterling Residences. And Sterling Residences, they actually did very well as a launch back then. So today, when we look at Penrith, where is Penrith located? It's located actually very near to Queenstown MRT station. And these areas are all the $1 million HDB flat, breaking record price. It is all happening right in this area. So some disclaimer here. So the content, the information that I'll be presenting in this video is solely just for your own reference. Okay, Penrith. So let me zoom into the map. Where is Penrith located? Penrith is actually located in between Queenstown Primary and the Skyview HDB flat. And it is just a short walk to Queenstown MRT station. If you are familiar with the area, you will know where is it. And just a bird eye view of where is Penrith. I have labeled it for you so that it is easier for you to look at it. This piece of land that you see here that is under construction, this is Penrith actual site. Next to it is actually Queenstown Primary School. Okay, and if you look at this direction down, here is Queenstown MRT. If you see the red color HDB flat, right, the very iconic HDB flat, across the road is Queenstown MRT already. Then you have Queen's Peak and Commonwealth Tower right here. So this is the location of Penrith. Just some project information about Penrith. Who is the developer is Guaco Land and Hong Leong Holdings. Total 462 units, I would say fairly decent in terms of this kind of size. It's not something that is too small, not something that is too huge, like for example Momentum Park. So 462 units, I would think not bad, quite decent. The unit mix that is available is the smallest is 2 bedroom all the way to 4 bedroom. And the 2 bedroom in terms of the size, 614 to 678. Because at this moment of this video, the site plan is not available yet. But what I know is that the show flat is more or less ready. So if I were to guess, 614 square feet very likely is 2 bed 1 bath. And 678 square feet likely is 2 bed 2 bath. Whether developer will put in a study or not, that one I'm not very sure. Alright, so very likely it's this kind of combination. And nowadays it's very common to see 3 bedroom. You can see that it's starting from 786 all the way to 1066 square feet. You may be wondering, wow, 786 square feet, very small. True, but if you have been following the recent launches, like for example Springleaf, Lentor Mansion, you will notice that they are using a new type of layout which is called the harmonization layout, which I will explain later, right? So basically, what is a harmonization layout is that for this new type of layout, the total size, the developer cannot count the aircon latch anymore, right? Which means that, for example, a 786 square feet for a 3 bedroom, it does not contain aircon latch anymore. So if I were to convert it to an older layout that is with aircon latch, probably 786 is quite equivalent to about maybe 820 square feet or 830 square feet, that kind of size, right? Okay, but 786 square feet, I have seen before, it is something that is quite common nowadays. We do see in Springleaf residences for a 3 bedroom having this kind of layout, and yet 786 square feet, developer have designed it is able to fit the 3 bedroom nicely into the unit, and every bedroom can fit at least a queen size bed. The 4 bedroom is 1173 to 1281. So the next thing I'll be talking about is that I think a lot of people, if let's say you are thinking about buying Penrith for investment, right? For generally most buyers, they might be considering a 2 bedroom. So you may be wondering that you know Queenstown area very well. You will know that down there have quite a number of condos, like Sterling Residences, you have Queen's Peak, you have Commonwealth Tower, you have Margaret View. So one very common concern is that, is there an oversupply of 2 bedroom units around Queenstown MRT, right? So this is something that is very important to think about it, because you don't want to buy into an area that has so much 2 bedroom and you find it very difficult to sell in the future. So to look into this, I actually pull out the 2 bedroom supply around the Queenstown MRT area. So you will see that you have Margaret Vale, we have Commonwealth Tower, which is just next to Queenstown MRT, we have Queen's Peak, we have Sterling Residences, which was the last new project in Queenstown area, if I remember correctly, about 3 years ago. And you have Queen's is quite old already. If I remember correctly, it's about 20 over years old already. And also Penrith. So you will see I have, how many condos do I have in total? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Including Penrith, I have 7 condos in that area. And if I were to look at, okay, so the next thing, if you look at the 2 bedroom supplies around Queenstown MRT station, Okay, if I were to add up Margaret Vale, the number of 2-bedroom, I have about 114 units. Commonwealth Tower, I have total of 271 units of 2-bedder, and so on, right? So that will give me a total 2-bedroom supply of 1,304. And this represents about 34% of 2-bedroom supply in the area. So if you ask me, hey Terence, 34%, is it considered a lot or is it considered quite okay? In my personal opinion, I think 34% is quite okay. But of course, to take reference from this, I must compare to another area. So if I were to compare another area that is of similar attributes to Queenstown MRT and also as prime as Queenstown MRT, I can only think of Woodleigh. If I take reference from Woodleigh area, if you are familiar with Woodleigh, you will find that the last few new project in the area is Park Colonial, Woodleigh Residences, and Trevor, right? So if I were to add all these up, I will have about 1,203 of 2-bedroom supply in the area. So you will find that actually the number is quite close to Queenstown MRT, right? And this represents about 41% of 2-bedroom supply in the area. So it is actually very interesting to see that Woodleigh area actually have higher 2-bedroom supply compared to Queenstown MRT. So now that we know that Queenstown 34% and Woodleigh area have 41% of 2-bedroom, so actually Queenstown area, the 2-bedroom supply is also not as much as compared to Woodleigh area. And let's take a look at in the Woodleigh area, how are these condos performing? If I were to take reference from Woodleigh Residences, which just TOP in 2023, okay, relatively young, just 2 years old. If I look at the average rental yield, is about 3.53%, and the 2-bedroom can rent out from I am seeing like 3,007 all the way up to maybe 4,009, right? But a lot are rented out at about 4,000, 4,002, 4,004. And for Park Colonial, it's just across the road, also very close to Woodleigh MRT station. Their rental yield is about 3.63, right? So I don't expect Woodleigh Residences and Park Colonial to have big difference in terms of the rental yield, because both developments are actually quite near to the MRT station. And you can actually see that the rental price is also very close. It's almost the same. It's about 4,004, 4,003, 4,006, and so on. So why am I saying all this is because if let's say you are investors looking into a 2-bedroom in the area, for example, Woodleigh area, the acceptable rental is about, I would say, about at least a 3.5% as an average. So which means that the entry price, if you know that in the area, in the Woodleigh area, can achieve about, I would say, maybe a 4,000 rental. And in order for investors to buy from you, you must be able to give them at least a 3.5% rental yield. And if you work backwards, that will give you a entry price that you should be looking at. So I won't delve too much into it, okay, but this is just to give an idea if let's say you are really looking at the 2-bedroom. And let's look at the 2-bedroom profit around for these two developments, Woodleigh Residences and Park Colonial. You will see that Woodleigh Residences have actually achieved about 263,000 for a 2-bedroom average. And the highest I can see is about close to 400,000, 396,000. So I would say for a 2-bedroom profit is actually very decent, to see this kind of profit over 200,000. Right, because in some areas we do see that a 3-bedroom is profit about 300 plus thousand, right? But in Woodleigh area, a 2-bedroom already can achieve this amount of profit. So I think that it is actually quite decent, right? Park Colonial is also very similar to Woodleigh Residences. Their profit average is about 248,000. Wow, the highest, shockingly, I am seeing 442,000. Wow, this buyer quite hot already. For a 2-bedroom can achieve 400 over thousand. Very hot, very hot. Okay. So these are the kind of profit that you can expect to achieve back then, right, for the Woodleigh area. So then what about Queenstown area, right? So again, the acceptable rental, if I take reference for the latest two new project, which was Sterling Residences and Queen's Peak, the acceptable rental for Sterling is 3.54, for Queen's Peak is about 3.68. So you can actually see that the acceptable rental is almost the same as Woodleigh area. And how about the rental price? Sterling Residences, I'm seeing it is also very similar, right? I'm seeing 4,002 all the way up to 4,009. And for Queen's Peak, I'm seeing 39 all the way to 58. So you can actually see that the rental in Woodleigh and Queenstown area, they are very, very similar. And how about the profit? So Sterling Residences, they actually achieve an average profit of 340,000. And their 2-bedroom highest, I'm seeing 600 over thousand for a 2-bedroom. Can you imagine that? 600,000 for a 2-bedroom. I would say it's not very common. This is extremely high profit. Because I'm seeing a lot of 3-bedroom, they are achieving this kind of profit, but 2-bedroom, not so common. So this is an even bigger hot grade, right? For those buyers who actually bought Sterling back then, right? They actually earn quite a lot of profit already, right? How about for Queen's Peak? Queen's Peak is 317,000, also not bad. Highest 484,000. So it seems that the profit in Queenstown area, it seems higher than Woodleigh. So it goes to show that actually in the Queenstown area, it has a lot of demands, a lot of buyers buy into this area, and even a 2-bedroom have demand there. So this is what I am seeing. And the next thing that I'm going to talk about is that, is harmonization layout always superior? If let's say you're not aware that Penrith they will actually launch with a new type of layout which is called the harmonization layout, which again doesn't include the aircon latch and the high ceiling. So I don't expect the developer to have any penthouse. As in penthouse with high ceiling, I don't expect the developer to have any of this layout. So if you look at in terms of the benefit, right, of harmonization, if I were to take reference for these two projects, okay, what advantages does a harmonization layout offer? So if I were to take reference for a two new launch project in District 15, Grand Diamond is a non-harmonization layout, which is the older layout, and Emerald of Katong in the same area also, which is a harmonization layout. So you can see Grand Diamond is 1098 square feet, and that includes the aircon latch. Alright, and Emerald of Katong is 990 square feet, doesn't include the aircon latch. You can actually see that in terms of the living room, Grand Diamond is 25 square meter, Emerald of Katong is 30. So you will find that EOK has a bigger living and dining, right? Balcony the same, bedroom size 9914, 9913, very similar. Master bath 5 and common bath 4, master bath 5 and 4, so it's about the same. And they have a study area which is about 5 square meter. Grand Diamond, they have a store which is about 5 square meter, which can be doubled up as a study also, which is about the same also, right? Then for the kitchen wise, the kitchen plus yard is about 9 square meter. The Grand Diamond is about 10. So you can actually see that the layout is almost the same, but you are seeing 990 square feet because it doesn't include aircon latch. But how about in terms of the pricing? So you can actually see that for Emerald of Katong, the buyers bought the 3-bedroom at about 2.4 million, right? 2.399. And Grand Diamond, 1098 square feet is about very close to 2.7 million already. So you can actually see that because of a harmonization layout, the size is smaller, right? It actually benefit the buyer. So the buyer actually bought, can actually buy a harmonization layout cheaper, about almost 300,000. So this is due to the government policy, and if you know how to take advantage of it, you can actually use it to your own advantage, right? So because of these government changes, it benefit the buyer can buy it at 300,000 lower compared to the older type of layout. But is this always the case, right? So if I were to take another example of a 2-bedroom, also in the same area, Tembusu Grand 667 square feet, which is a non-harmonized layout, and the Emerald of Katong 624 square feet, a harmonized layout. So if I zoom in for you to see, a 2-bed 2-bath, living room for Tembusu Grand is 20 plus 4. So total I'll have 24. Emerald of Katong, living and dining total 24, so it's about the same size. Bedroom for Tembusu Grand is 9 and 12. For EOK, the master bedroom is the same. Very similar, 11 and 9. So you can see the bedroom size also the same. Common bath is 4, master bathroom is 5. Then you can see that for EOK is 4 and 5 also. So you can actually see the layout, 667 square feet and 624 square feet is almost, you're getting the same amount of space inside. So logically speaking, which one do you think is a better buy? Right, you may be thinking of, the previous example, it actually showed that harmonized layout is a better buy ma. So can I say that generally most buyers, they will think that, EOK confirm a better buy because harmonized ma? Okay, let's take a look. So if you see in terms of the pricing, this is Tembusu Grand. This is EOK, Emerald of Katong. Right, so you can see EOK, they are 2-bedroom. Developer price back then was 1.589. And Tembusu Grand, back then, developer price is 1.557. So you can actually see that, in this case, actually a non-harmonized layout is cheaper by 32,000. So you may be wondering, how come? So it is actually important that, this is to show you that harmonized layout may not always be cheaper than a non-harmonized one. You really have to study the pricing very well, understand it, and to see actually which one is better. Non-harmonized project, is it better or is it the harmonized one, right? This is something for you to determine. Then the next thing that you may be very curious, okay, what is the estimated starting price of Penrith? If I were to take reference from a recent launch, also by the same developer, Guaco Land, which is Springleaf Residences, they actually sold extremely good result, 92%. They actually sold with an average price of 2,175 per square foot. And they bought the land actually quite cheap, about 780, and their break even is 1688, right? So if I were to estimate the starting price, I will take 1688. Usually developer, they will factor in a 20% profit. And then I will times because this is a harmonized layout also, so the developer, they will actually lose about 5% of the size. So they will actually factor it in, right? So I will need to pass another 5% harmonization price, right? So this will give me about 2126 per square foot, right? So you can actually see, if let's say this is based on my calculation, 2126 is very close to the developer average price already, 2175. If I use the same method to calculate for Penrith, so you can actually see that Guaco Land, they actually bought the land at about 1154. Their break even is 2026. So I will use, if let's say 2026, I multiply by 20% profit. If I times a 5% harmonization price, I will get about 2552 per square foot. So based on my calculation, this maybe is average lah. If I were to estimate, because at this point of time, I really don't know how much the developer is going to launch, right? If developer is going to launch at maybe 2.5, if let's say it's 2.5 for a 2-bedroom, it will be starting from 1.53, and 3-bedroom about 1.96, and a 4-bedroom will be 2.9. But I would expect that probably a 2-bedroom, you might be expecting a higher per square foot, maybe about 2007 because of the size is smaller. If let's say for 2007 per square foot as an average for a 2-bedroom, you'll be looking at about 1.65 already. 3-bedroom will be 2.1, and 4-bedroom will be 3.1. Right, so it really depends how much the developer is going to launch. We will roughly know the starting price during the preview period. So that is all about Penrith. If let's say you are seriously considering about Penrith, you can drop me a message, to discuss more about Penrith. And once the Penrith, the floor plan and site plan is out, I will do another video to discuss on what is the best layout and the recommended layout to actually go in for the 2-bedroom all the way up to the 4-bedroom. See you in my next video. Bye.